to be the best, number one and nothing less. Lead me to my destiny. I have waited patiently. I have vision, oh I believe. I know I can count on me, so stand up for the champions, stand up, stand up.
Hello everyone, you're welcome to Biology Video Lectures with Akirili Oladimiji Philip. It's good to be back with you on the lecture. On today's edition, we're looking at homeostasis. I will just be talking about the introductory aspect of that. And I can put it to you that you must have heard about this topic, or you know about this topic, because it's what every human experiences on daily basis. Also, you might have heard of this topic as being called regulation of internal environment. It means the same thing as homeostasis. Now, this homeostasis was coined from two Greek words, which is homeo, which means same, and stasis, which means steady or standing. So it means you are saying same standing or same steady. So what homeostasis means is that is the maintenance of the internal environment of an organism to a fairly constant state. I mean to write organism, not organisms. Please take note of that. Now, what you need to understand is that have you asked yourself this question? Why do I sweat sometimes? Why do I shiver sometimes? Why will I pass out a urine that is so conk sometimes? And why will I pass out a urine that is very dilute sometimes? The answer to that question is what? Homeostasis. What the body does is that it studies the environment. Then the body will try to adapt to the change in environment. You agree with me that there are days you have a very sunny day, very cold day, very wet day. So what happens is that the body must adjust to that, and that is found in a group of organisms called what? Homeotherms. So it is only homeotherms that can carry out homeostasis. They are different from what's it called? Poikilotherms, which are organisms that their own temperature is only based on their environment. Please, let's get this clear. When we say homeotherms, it means that they can maintain their body temperature regardless of what the temperature in the environment is saying. For example, if I myself should go to a very hot place, the normal temperature of my core, my inside, my normal temperature should be 37 degrees Celsius, or say 37.5 degrees Celsius. Now, going to that hot place, my temperature will rise for some few minutes. But if my homeostatic organs are normal, that temperature must reduce. That's homeostasis. So we are trying to maintain constant temperature regardless of the environment. Also, if I go to a cold region or a cold place, on appearing there or getting there, my temperature will drop a little. But if my homeostatic functions are normal, some things will happen in my body. For example, I will be shivering. I will take conscious effort to put on clothes. That will help my temperature to come back to the right temperature, which is 37.5 degrees Celsius. So bear in mind that it is what keeps us alive. As a matter of fact, what we study in medicine and surgery is deviation, or what is being treated in medicine and surgery is deviation from homeostasis. It's when homeostasis is not happening that we have fever, that you have some other things going wrong. All right, so that is that. Now, this is common to all homeotherms, otherwise called what? Endotherms. Endotherms are organisms that their temperature is controlled from within, not from outside. It means the same thing. It is the food that they digest that controls their temperature from within, not ectotherms like reptiles, like amphibians and fishes. So example of your warm-blooded animal or homeotherms or endotherms are apes and mammals. I'm talking about birds and mammals. Mammals, that's where we belong. So looking at this pictures here, you will see this guy in the red cardigan that is extremely cold, and the guy in the shirt here is extremely hot. You can see him sweating and even trying to blow himself. Now, the two things you see here is trying to make their temperature remain constant. The conscious effort of putting on that red cardigan, trying to get to the hand covered, is to reduce heat loss. You are reducing heat loss because we need to gain more heat. But for the guy with the paper in his hand, you can see him that he has to lose his style. You can see him blowing the body. The aim is to get rid of excess temperature. The sweating is a way of cooling down the body. So these are homeostatic processes. The body is just trying to make sure that, okay, no matter what happens, I must maintain the normal temperature. All right. You can also see a dog down here with the mouth open. They don't sweat like we do. They sweat through their mouth. They pant. So as the panting, you will see saliva will be drooling out from the saliva, from the mouth, from the tongue. So the aim of that is also to maintain what? A constant temperature. So it's not only humans. All mammals, most mammals carry out homeostasis. All right. And when I only use temperature as an example, it doesn't mean the only thing we keep constant is temperature. We also keep our pH, the pH of our plasma, to be 7.4. That's about almost neutral. It must be kept constant. All right. Now, there's something you need to understand when it comes to homeostasis. There's something called feedback mechanism. Now, you ask me, how does the body know that we are in a hot environment? How does the kidney know when to pass out a very little urine or when to pass out a very large amount of urine? Now, feedback mechanism is defined as the information gained about a reaction to a product, which will allow the modification of the product. Hear me out. Now, let me use this pen as example. This is the information I gain from somewhere. Now, when I gain this information from the environment, of course, don't worry, as I show you the next few slides, you understand better. I will perceive this thing here. Now, when I perceive this thing, I will send this thing I perceive to a center to tell the center that something is wrong here. So now, based on what I think this body needs, I will say whether I should keep having more of this or I should reduce it. It means that if I need more of it, when I send it to this center here, the center will determine whether we should reduce this, getting more of this, or getting little of it. So based on that, we now have two types. All right. So you can see it here. Biological system operates on a mechanism of input and output. The input is what I perceive. The output is after the body has seen it, has perceived it, it will now send an output, whether to reduce this thing or to increase it. Don't worry, as I move on, you understand better. Now, a feedback loop is a biological occurrence wherein the output of a system amplifies the system. Now, it means if I send it here, and I know that we need more of this, and I tell the body to get me more of this, that's positive feedback. But in a case whereby I send this to a control center, and the control center notices that this is not good enough, and I send an output to reduce this, that's what? Negative feedback. Don't worry, I will give you examples of this. Like I said at the beginning, we are all aware of these things. It happens to us on a daily basis. All right? It's just that we don't know what it's called for those people that may be a bit novice. So what are the components that forms a feedback mechanism? There are just 4 of them. Stimulus, which could be chemical. Stimulus is just anything that can cause a reaction in your body. Tapping myself like I just did is a mechanical stimulus. Breeze blowing on me is a stimulus. Pouring water on myself is a stimulus. Being pricked by a pain is a stimulus. So it could be chemical. Even you tasting food is a stimulus, a chemical stimulus. So anything you can feel or that you can sense that can cause you to give a change is the stimulus. Now, the thing that senses the stimulus is called sensor. An example of those are what? Receptors. So receptors are different structures in our body that helps to that senses the change in the environment, basically speaking. So what you need to understand in essence is that sensors are not just they are not just structures, they are receptors in each of our body. I mean, from the crown of our head, sole of our feet, we have receptors in everywhere, sensing different things. For example, now, on the skin here, you have touch receptors that will feel touch, that will feel pain. We have touch receptors, we have pain receptors. So we have a quite number of them. All right, so that's the first portion of sensor. So stimulus will be perceived by sensor, and those sensors are what? Receptors. They are found in every part of our body. They will now have the control center. Now the control is this. Let's imagine now this is temperature, and my body felt the temperature, which is, so this is the stimulus, the temperature, the temperature. Then the sensor, which is my skin, in this case, what's it called? Thermoreceptors. They felt the temperature. These are the sensors. They send it to the regions. It could be any part of the brain, any part of the body. There's always a region that controls a sensor, and that region will go to the so now that control center. So when the sensor sends it to the control center will decide what will happen. Is it for me to stop the stimulus? What action should I take to stop the stimulus? That's what the control center will be thinking. Then when it now makes that decision, it will now execute that thought by an effector organ or an effector. So the one that will execute what has been planned by the control is the what? Effector. So any organ that executes the instruction from the control, e.g. kidney, don't worry, I will explain this to you. So let me quickly use this as an example now so you understand. So for example, now let's imagine that I am having a very hot temperature as it is now. Then my skin, the stimulus is the temperature. My skin, which is the sensor that has receptors on it, has perceived it that the temperature is very high. So this is what happens. The body, the sensor will now send the stimulus to the control center, in this case, the heat and cold center in the hypothalamus. So what happens is this: since I am having too much temperature around, so what the control center will do is that, okay, we are trying to get rid of heat. We don't need more heat. So what happens is that the thalamus, which is control center, will stimulate the what's it called? The cold center. It will cause the cold center to increase and cause the heat center to decrease, because we are trying to what? Lose heat. So how will you do that? You will now tell the effector organs, in this case will be what? Your skin, your blood vessels. Well, the blood vessels are the ones that will carry out reducing of, that will be the ones to say, okay, they are the ones that will bring about the reduction of the temperature. How will you do that? The hypothalamus, through the cold center, will tell the blood vessel to what? Vasodilate. So it means our blood vessel is an effector that will bring about what? Reduction in what? Temperature. So when they dilate, it will cause sweat to escape through our body. Also will tell us to consciously remove our clothes, probably unbutton our shirt, to what? Get cooler temperature. Then also digestion will reduce so that there will not be more heat. So these are effector. So anything that brings about execution of what decision has been taken in the control center is effector. I hope that is clear. Now we have two types of feedback mechanism. The what's it called? Positive and negative. You can see at this corner here that you can see that the stimulus came to the sensor to the control. The effector will really want to go and stop the stimulus if it is negative feedback, or have more stimulus if it's what? Positive feedback. All right. Now, positive feedback, please bear in mind that we have the number of positive feedback we have in our body as humans is lesser compared to the negative. The most of the ones we have is always negative feedback, but we have few positive feedback. Now, positive feedback mechanisms are designed to accelerate. I told you are going to get more of those outputs. Accelerate or enhance the output created by the stimulus that has already been activated. As it sees, you can imagine I said that this was the stimulus. The sensor perceived it, sent to control center, and the control center now sends more sent effector organ to get more of this. So we need it to happen the more. We want more of it. That's why it's called what? Positive feedback mechanism. He wants more of that. What is happening to happen the more? Example of those are majorly three in our body. Milk ejection reflex. When a nursing mother is feeding his or her child or baby, the moment the lips of the child touches the nipple, it stimulates what we call touch receptors they are so much in abundance around the nipple, around the tissue they call areola. Then that touch receptors will send signal to the posterior pituitary gland. So posterior pituitary gland will secrete a hormone called oxytocin. Then oxytocin will come back to the what? The what's it called? To the breast, to contract the lobules of the breast to eject milk. Once milk comes out to the mouth of the baby likes what he or she has is entering her mouth or his mouth, then sucks to the mom. As it sucks to the mom, the impulse go again the same way. Posterior pituitary gland, more oxytocin, more contraction, more milk, more touch receptor. So it is getting more of it. That's why I said we are getting more of what we are seeing. That's what positive does. Also parturition. Let me quickly show you a diagram to show that now. Now you can see the head of the baby around. You can see the head of the baby touches the cervix. As it touches the cervix, nerve impulse are sent to the brain. What part of the brain here is sent to the what? To the what? Posterior pituitary gland, with oxytocin, the same oxytocin I talked about for milk ejection reflex. Then that oxytocin is a myoconstricting hormone. I mean, it causes muscle to contract, smooth muscle majorly. Then it will so it goes to the cervix and cause the cervix. It will go to the uterus and cause the uterus to squeeze more. Once it squeezes more, it causes the head of the baby to touch the cervix the more. And remember that what started this whole thing was that the head of the baby touched the cervix. So now we have now squeezed the head of the baby to touch the cervix the more. And once it touches the cervix the more, oxytocin will be secreted again. You can see that. So brain stimulates pituitary gland to secrete oxytocin. Oxytocin is carried to the bloodstream to the uterus. And when that happens, it causes the uterus to what? You can see oxytocin stimulates the uterus contraction and pushes the baby head towards the cervix again. And when it touches the cervix again, it causes the same thing to happen. So it will now cause to become stronger. Another example of what's it called? Positive feedback is blood clotting. Conversion of prothrombin to thrombin, which is the last stage of what? Of hemostasis. I didn't say homeostasis, I said hemostasis, which is blood clotting. So these are the three examples of positive feedback, whereby what caused the change, what stimulated the whole cascade, the system will make it to become more, in increasing is amplifying it again. All right. Then we look at negative feedback, reduces the output or activity to return an organism or an organ or system to its normal range. So we were having a very high temperature. The aim of the negative feedback is, okay, let's reduce it. Like the example I gave to you, that when somebody is sweating, that's negative feedback. The body notices that the temperature is too high, so we must bring it back to low. That's why I said temperature regulation. So we are trying to reduce it. So negative feedback is, okay, the body has seen a stimulus, and this stimulus, if it continues, is going to be what? Harmful. So stimulus is seen by sensor. Sensor takes it to the control center. Control center will tell effector organ, reduce this stimulus. We don't need more of it. That's negative feedback for you. So example is reduction of temperature, blood pressure regulation, osmolarity regulation. Blood pressure, imagine when the blood pressure increases, the body system will reduce it by different mechanisms. Osmolarity regulation, the one I talked about, having hypertonic urine. The body is trying to maintain the amount of the plasma concentration. When the water you have in your body is too little, the plasma concentration will become high. So instead of that to happen, what the body will do is that it will conserve water to the plasma. Then you now pass out little urine. So instead of you to have an hypertonic plasma, you rather have an hypertonic urine. So the aim is that you want to maintain steady 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 parameter of that system. All right. There are more examples, sincerely. There are a lot of examples of negative feedback. Now, this is an example. You can see increase in temperature, the body begins to sweat. That's vasodilation, so that it can reduce temperature. The vibration cooling and occurs, then temperature drops. We're trying to what? Reduce it to normal. We want to reduce the stimulus. Then there's what? Good pimples appears on the skin. That's vasoconstriction, maybe there's less convection. So all of those things. So heat loss reduces, then the temperature is brought back to normal. So the aim of neurofeedback feedback is we want to bring down the output. We want to bring down the stimulus. We don't want to have more of it. All right. And I think that will be all for now. Before we leave that, yes. Why is neurofeedback feedback important? Without the neurofeedback feedback, homeostasis cannot occur. Yes. It is neurofeedback feedback that allows us to maintain. When you notice that, okay, there is an increase in temperature. So the body notices, okay, let me bring it down. There's a lower temperature. The body notices, let me bring it up. You get what I'm saying? So it is very important. And let me tell you something. Any organism, that cannot carry out homeostasis or that has a fault of homeostasis will definitely have issues. Common malaria, common fever happen because our normal homeostatic function has been altered. Hence, we need drugs for it to be done. So, like I said at the beginning, that what medicine focuses on majorly is shift in homeostasis. Something is wrong in homeostasis, disease has ensued. All right, and that will be all for now. I hope this introductory video has been helpful. The next videos will be seen on this topic will be kidney, liver, homeostatic pituitary gland and the likes. Now, before I leave, I just remember now, I still have one more slide. Now, what are the organs that bring about homeostasis? Kidney, liver, skin, the endocrine or ductless gland. Now, some book will add hypothalamus and pituitary gland to it, which are part of the brain. But bear in mind that you don't have to do this. You may not have to add this one because endocrine gland secrete hormones. Example of them is hypothalamus and pituitary gland. So is in one way or another, we already talk about it. We will talk about it under endocrine or ductless gland. All right. And some book also used to add the brain to it. Well, that's not necessary because the brain oversees every other function in the body. All right. That will be all for now. Thank you very much.